Great.
Run it every week.
Yeah. Oops. Okay. Right. So I just decrease this. So today we are doing structure and clear limits. My co-presenter and co-worker, Miss Eva Gregg, she's our new community technical assistance coordinator. Well, she's not new, but she still feels new, but she's still feels like she's been here forever. I guess that's a really good compliment for you, Eva, because I really enjoy working with you. She's our new Greg, as I told Anthony, because he hasn't met her yet in person. So, and Anthony knows who I am, and Peyton I met in the last presentation we had of CYPQ youth session on youth voice. We did not last week, but the week before that. So glad to have you back, Peyton. Hopefully more will join us as we go along. Hopefully we will continue on these sessions with the rest of this program. It's a really great program for working with youth and youth programs. The next sessions to be announced, there's Ask, Listen, Encourage, Cooperative Learning, Planning and Reflection, and Reframing Conflict, Homework Help, and Building Community. So stay tuned for dates on those ones. So Structure and Clear Limits is today's Center for Youth Program Quality session. So the agenda today, really clear, structure and clear limits, what it is and why, focusing on youth needs, structure and clear limits in your program, and then a closing. All of these sessions I try to make really interactive, so we'll have some group discussions and pairing. Some workshop objectives. Participants will understand how structure and clear limits meet the developmental needs of youth. They will have the opportunity to explore ways to improve their program structure and have the opportunity to establish limits for their program. Housekeeping, the materials. Anthony and Peyton, did you receive the materials?
Yeah,
I
I
did.
think, yeah.
Okay, so what I recommend you do is open those materials in a new window. So when we do our group discussions, you'll have the questions or the worksheets that you'll need to have in front of you when you go into different rooms that you won't see because I won't be able to share the screen at that time. So just a heads up, go ahead and open those documents in separate windows so you'll be able to access them when we do the group work. Feel free to get up and take a bathroom break, grab some more coffee, and please silence your phone. If you have a lot of background sound, just go ahead and mute your microphone. Yeah, all the same things we usually discuss. So the Center for Youth Program Quality has this pyramid of assessments in which they build all these strategies to support youth program, youth communication and engagement. And they're all evidence-based strategies. So here for structure and clear limits, you'll see at the bottom of the pyramid is safe environment. And that's the whole goal of structure and clear limits is developing that safe environment for youth in which they feel psychological and emotional safety and also a physically safe environment. But I forgot the icebreaker, and I know that's a very fun part. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second and go back to video. Okay. And if everybody else can turn on their video, Peyton, I understand if you don't have internet, but for the icebreaker, so let's get to know each other a little bit more. Hi, Peyton, thank you. Nice to see you. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just call on people, and what I'd like you to do is just say your name and where you are and what you do. And then I'm going to ask you a question, a get to know you question. And we'll give you a minute or two to think about and then answer. Does that sound okay? So I'll go first. My name is Tara Christensen Stiller. I work at RuleCap and I do a bunch of various projects at RuleCap. So the question I will choose for myself is, what are you planning to eat for lunch? I'm not a very big lunch person. I usually do a lot of snacks throughout the day, but I will probably have lunch with my children after this meeting. It could be SpaghettiOs, it could be ham sandwiches, who knows? It's a toss-up. Okay, so next let's go with Anthony. Why don't you tell us if you had hold on, I got to give you your question really quick. If you had 2 tickets to anywhere in the world, where would you go and who would you bring?
My name is Anthony Gastelam. I work for the Organized Village of Cake. I'm the Tribal Youth Program Coordinator and also the Child Advocate and Tribal Courts Coordinator. If I had a choice to go 2 places, it would be Guam, where my son and his wife are stationed, and I would bring my wife, and also home to San Diego with my wife to see my family.
Thanks, Anthony. Okay, let's do Eva. And your question is, what is your favorite food?
My name is Eva Gregg. I'm originally from Kotzebue. I am the Technical Assistance Coordinator at RuleCap. I've been there almost 10 months. My absolute favorite food is native food. Hands down, every time. Specifically, fried whale meat and fried mukduck.
Thank you. All right, and Peyton, what do you like most about the work you do?
My name is Peyton Kazakian. I'm from King Cove, Alaska, but I work in Sandpoint, Alaska. I work with technically my job title is Healing to Wellness Case Court Manager. But I worked with the tribal court with the youth. My favorite part about my job is I just love working with the high school kids. They're my favorite to work with.
Oops, did I unmute? Okay, Joy. Let's see, if you could spend a whole day with a celebrity who's dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I'm so bad at those kinds of questions. Okay. I'm Joy Millett. So I'm originally from Unalakleet, but I have lived in Anchorage for, I don't know, way more years than I care to admit. And I've worked for Rural Cap for about 18 years, 18 of the last 20 years. And let's see, any celebrity. I'm like, I don't know. I'm terrible at this kind of stuff. You know, I mean, I have to say this is probably like a gimme at this point, but I would say Martin Luther King is not really he's a celebrity in my world. So right now I would say that would be the person to spend a day with. Yeah, I learned something from him.
Great. Awesome, guys. Thanks for sharing and starting our icebreaker. Now I'll turn off my video and go back to the slideshow. All right, and we're back. Okay, so we went over the pyramid. Now we're gonna do, is it going? Okay, we're gonna do a quick poll. And let's see, that's not the right one. Okay, so I'm gonna ask everyone, after reading the following statement, kids need to be quiet and listen when I ask them to, because, and then select as many statements as you choose that correspond to the response statement based on which ones you agree with. And you can choose as many as you want. So I'll go ahead and launch that. And I'll wait for you guys to reply. So again, the statement is, kids need to be quiet and listen when I ask them to, because. All right. Is that everyone? Everyone got a chance to vote? Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so our results to the statement. Can everyone see it? I can't see your faces anymore. But
Yeah, I can see it.
okay. So kids need to be quiet and listen when I ask them to, because, and 100% of you said some youth might feel unsafe or uncomfortable if it's loud. And also learning to take turns and listen is an important life skill. And then 2 out of 3 of you voted for, if everyone's talking, I can't hear the one who's supposed to be talking. And then lastly, the youth who want to participate can't when it's too loud. Okay, so does anyone want to share? Hold on, let me close my door. My dog is barking a lot. Would anybody like to share their result, why they voted the way they voted? How do I exit out of here?
I'll share. So to me, the other options were just so, what's the word? Authoritarian I'm saying it wrong. It seems like adults, I don't know, I lost my train of thought. I think when children are respected and treated with dignity and made to feel like their voices matter, then they're more willing to be open and receptive to new things or a perspective they didn't disagree with, or that they didn't disagree with, that they didn't agree with.
Yeah, that's good. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, I have something. I've been working with kids for a long time, and one of the things that I've learned throughout me working with the children, adolescents, teenagers, and is that when the need word, when the kids hear the need word, it can be to them kind of like a trigger word, because what I've learned is that when someone is told that you need to do something, it could come off like I don't need to do anything, And so what I try to do is use a different word besides need, because what I've learned in the past is that it doesn't really fit when you're trying to get your point across and also teach them something that they might miss, So I try to engage them kind of like in a different way where they also have a chance to, how would you say it, to be part of the what we're trying to get across to them, and have them allow them to have accountability for what we're trying to learn, So yeah, for me, need is can be a abrasive word to kids, especially if you're working with high risk kids, because they can take it differently, because I guarantee you they're having to hear that word a lot in the home. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, and then I've noticed they just kind of like use a different word, and phrase it differently, so they want to learn more.
Exactly. Thank you, Anthony. Joy or Peyton, did you have anything to add?
Well, I wanted to respond with, chaos is just chaotic, but I figured that was not the right answer. I find, I don't work directly with youth, right? And I think there's a reason for that. I find I enjoy youth, but I'm not good with youth. So my first responses were the ones that I was like, yeah, that's not the right answer. So I have to like not listen to my first sarcastic response. I have to like think about it a minute.
Yeah. I think for me, like as a parent, I'm still growing in this area of getting out of adultism with my kids, but I feel like a better person when I'm working with youth in my culture camp versus being a parent. And I catch myself, so it's a work in progress to continually focus to grow, be a better person with youth, I guess. How about you, Peyton? Anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
All right, we'll keep moving forward. Okay, so what is structure and clear limits? So structure is the framework for the program and the offerings. It sets the stage. It includes like schedules, staffing routines, and program space. And then you have the limits, which are, you know, those established boundaries, rules that are enforced by, they could be enforced by youth, they could be enforced by adults. But it's really important to find a balance where your program is not too permissive or not too authoritarian, like Eva was talking about. Especially when you're working with diverse age groups. Having structure and clear limits supports the program's building of common culture, so you don't have that age division, creating that safe environment, having consistency, where youth will have clarity of what is expected of them, and not confused when they don't know what to expect if there isn't any clear limits or structures in your programs. They feel more relaxed and willing to engage. They build that trust when there's consistency and a more predictable environment. Because a lot of times, like Anthony mentioned, they might not have that at home, and it's important to recognize youth that may be vulnerable and not have clear limits and structure at the home. So it's important to provide that when they're outside the home for them to feel safe. So here's some other reasons. Lead to a safe environment, as I mentioned. Productive use of time. Young people want to know what their limits are. Structure can be liberating for them. Even in safety, can't be fully established at home, just as we were discussing just a second ago. So giving them that. And then research shows that structure is connected to all sorts of positive outcomes and possibly a necessary prerequisite. Does anyone have any questions so far? Would like to add to why they think structure and clear limits is important in youth programs?
You know, I've noticed when you're consistent with the kids that you serve, they look forward to spending really good quality time with you because they know that they're going to get something out of whatever activity that we're doing together. And they look forward to these meetings that we have. And because a lot of times they're looking at us to see if we're practicing what we're preaching, basically. And they don't really have a problem kind of like pointing that out. Well, you said you were going to do this and you didn't do this, you know. And so I found out that it's really important to be able to be there when you say you're going to be there, because they remember, and it's almost like a broken promise, you know, because a lot of these kids, they see a lot of broken promises, you know, and so they're trying to find that structure in their lives where they can participate in something and really enjoy it at the same time.
Thank you. So building structure can include establishing those routines, which can be regular or daily, program schedules, ensuring that you define your goals or objectives of your projects or programs with purpose and focus, keeping it manageable, creating a space that works, that's safe and free of hazards, but also comfortable and flexible. And again, consistency reinforces the structure. With clear limits, setting clear positive guidelines that are very specific, allowing youth to provide input to the guidelines. I know at camp, that's one of the first things we do is establish group guidelines for the week of camp, and letting youth, provide what guidelines they think should be added for the group to meet, which is really positive for them to encourage them that they're a part of the program and their voice matters. Using rules to meet the needs of youth. These rules could include physical and emotional safety. Physical safety includes, they're warm, they're fed, and they have a roof over their head. Emotional is more ensuring that, their well-being is being watched over, such as there's nobody bullying them. They feel comfortable talking to adults, really creating that trust again by building that environment that feels safe to them on a physical and emotional level. Another establishing clear limits is having high expectations for their behavior. You get what you expect, and communication's key. Communicate limits consistently. And just like Anthony was talking about, framing it positively. So consider the difference of these two statements of guidelines. Don't talk out of turn. And then the second statement, talk when it's your turn. What do you guys notice about the first statement?
It's a command. And when I was a kid and someone spoke to me like that, I immediately shut down because just the way of the context of the words were used.
Yeah.
I like the second one because it tells the youth that it is not your turn to speak, but your turn will come.
Yeah. So exactly. So the first statement really focuses on the negative and sets lower expectations. Don't talk out of turn. It's very authoritative. And when you're telling someone what not to do, it's not as clear as telling them what they should do. And the second statement is different because it sets a positive frame guideline. It's easy to understand and lets them know that they will have a turn to talk. Any other thoughts on this? Okay, so now we are going to do a group activity. Let me, so I'm going to put you into pairs, and hopefully Eva and Joy and I will not be paired together. I'll see if I can do that. So Consider the following idea. Youth typically do things to get their needs met, not just to make our lives difficult. And then you're going to think of the questions when you're in your group and answer, in your experience, when has this idea proven to be true? And then also discussing how could this idea affect our approach implementing structure and clear limits. So I'm going to go ahead and put people in breakout rooms. We're just going to do 2. And let's see here, 1 second. Okay, and then, okay, so I'm making the rooms now, and does everyone have access to their PowerPoint outside of this screen in another window? So you could, just in case you need to refer back to the statement and the questions. Yeah? Okay, and I will be popping in just in case you guys have any questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the rooms and you'll be asked to join them. All right, welcome back. All right. So who would like to share from their group how their discussion, what they came up with?
I think Peyton should share from our group.
Same with Anthony.
Me and Eva were really getting in a good conversation, and we kind of had to switch.
Oh man, I'm
cool.
sorry.
No, it's cool. I mean, it happens the way it's supposed to happen. So, you know.
Well, next time I'll go in your room and make sure you guys are done next time. I'm sorry. But why don't you share a little bit from what you did get out of it? You're frozen. Oh, there you go.
There it is. Yeah, we just talked a little bit about our conversations on how to, you know, a lot of times, probably in our era, with the way we were brought up, we weren't allowed to kind of like say what we wanted to say with our parents, and the way we were brought up was, if mom said something, that's the way it was going to be, and it wasn't going to change, and we were going to have the last word. So don't try to reason with us. But now, knowing that that's a little bit different nowadays, and the more we think we know, it's kind of like the less we know. And sometimes it helps with the kids' help and the youth's help. They kind of can teach us also too, as long as we have that open mind to be able to learn from a younger person, because you know, it can help us in a good way, you know. And when Eva was talking, you know, I mean, you know, as kids grow up, they are ready to grow up. When they turn that age 18, they are ready. They want to see the world. They want to check it out. They want to do the things that they weren't able to do for years growing up, and kind of test the water, but also find out that maybe the water is not ready to be tested, you know. And so we want to give them that encouragement to kind of grow up a little bit, but also we also want to give them the tools to kind of like know how to do things when it's time for them to reach out somewhere else. But yeah, our conversation was really good, and I'm really grateful for Eva sharing. I appreciate that.
Great. Eva, did you want to add anything?
No, I think Anthony summarized our conversation very well.
All right. So Peyton and Joy.
Me and Joy had a really good conversation about like, we weren't sure, like we couldn't like exactly pin a point when like an idea was proven to be true, but we knew like all kids, especially because I work with high school kids, like they need clear structure, and not all of their structure is the same. Like we have one set structure, but we know every other kid needs different needs. We talked about how we can meet some of the different needs for the other kids. I can't think of what we talked about now.
was the gist of it, Peyton. We were just talking, I was just asking like how many kids does she usually have at one time when she's working with youth? And she was saying 10 to 20, but in some cases more than that. And so my question was then how do you ensure that, or do you feel like you're able to make, connect with all those kids and make sure they're getting what they need when it's just you and that many youth? And then that got us into like the conversation about the importance of relationship with each youth. And Peyton has built a really strong relationship with the youth in the community through her past work. So she can build on that with this work. And through that feels like that it's okay to have just her and that many youth because she has that one-on-one connection outside of those activities too. So, and then I started to get into whether or not they canceled their culture camp, and then we got pulled away. So at some point, Peyton, you'll have to fill us in on that.
All right, thanks for sharing, everyone. I'm gonna go back to my screen. All right. There we go. Okay, so what we were getting to was meeting youth needs, which really stresses putting the youth needs above adult convenience. So how can we know what the needs are? Anticipate based on experience and pay close attention to youth behavior. What are some ways that we know that what their needs are? Can anyone speak to that? And thinking about putting their needs above adult convenience. I know growing up, I was in a lot of camps where it was wholly made by adults, and youth were just required to participate in whatever they said that we were supposed to do. And it wasn't a very fun camp, and I didn't get a whole lot out of it. And I didn't think that my needs were met on an emotional level, having that voice and engagement in the activities as much as I could if I had the opportunity, had adults have my needs met, instead of being so authoritarian, I guess. So go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah. A lot of times what we have found out in the past, because we've had culture camps probably for like 33 years that they've been going on here in the village. And what I've noticed, and I've been here like 16 years, but what I've noticed is that sometimes when you see that the people that are in charge of the camp have a clique, it is very noticeable, and it takes away what you're really trying to do for the youth, because it's almost like there's a you're already gonna do things the way you're gonna do it, and it almost takes away from the whole camp that kids are there to kind of like learn how to do things and be part of. And we found out that maybe we need to have an adult culture camp where the adults can have their own camp and the kids can have their own camp. And we found out that that works pretty good. And we have done this for probably 7 years for the adult culture camp. And they really enjoyed that, but also kind of mixing it up a little bit for the kids and actually let them do some of the activities instead of somebody always guiding them through an activity, you know, and let them be in charge of their own activity. And I think that would really help.
Thanks for sharing. So yeah, so identifying youth needs, there's 4 basic needs that have been identified. Starting at the bottom is physical. An example is I have healthy food and drink I need, and I have shelter and warmth. Next is safety. I won't get beat up. I won't lose the good things I have, and it's safe for me to be myself. Next up is belonging. Others like me. I won't be all alone. I have friends. I'm cool. I'm not a laughing stock. And then the top is esteem. I'm smart. I can get good grades. I have skills. I will go far in life. I have control over situations. So what do we see here? How is this construct useful to us in the work we do with youth?
So I think if there's a youth who is acting out in their behaviors when their needs aren't met, I think we can go back to this and ask ourselves as adults, where in this pyramid is this youth not getting their needs met? And on the other side of that, we can also use it in a positive spin, is when we see youth, you know, fulfilling whatever dreams and desires they have in life. It could be because these 4 aspects in their lives, they're physically safe, you know, they have food, they belong to a group, either to a family that means a lot to them that they may not share DNA with, or their esteem is, you know, intact and not compromised. Then we have a young person who is fulfilling self-efficacy.
Yeah.
I like the 14 I statements.
You want to share those with us?
Yeah, there was 4. I counted them. I liked it.
Peyton or Joy, did you have anything to add? Okay. So I think this is a super important pyramid for youth workers. Another example, we always have interns working with us, and they might range from high school to college age kids to adults. And a lot of them might not recognize these 4 needs from youth, and they could be mistaken for, you know, a youth acting out with bad behavior or not listening, or when really the youth is just trying to have their needs met, and the behavior is a result of that need not being met. So I think it's important for all the youth workers to be aware of these before getting in contact with youth, especially the younger ones, working with younger kids, because they don't always verbalize their needs, and they might not be recognizable without understanding these 4 major constructs.
So this is Joy, and I was just gonna say, I feel like that, as when someone's working with youth, that the physical and safety is, I mean, it's not always easy to see, but it's probably, a little more easy to see. But that belonging and esteem, that can be really difficult to pinpoint whether or not those needs are being met, and or how to help them meet those needs. That when I look at this, those are the 2 that kind of stand out to me as more challenging, I guess.
Definitely. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so now we're going to do another group activity. So you'll see 3 example stories here of youth and their needs. It's a short narrative of 3 stories. So I'm going to put you in the same groups. If you need to, Joy, or anybody, if you could do a screenshot so you could open it again, just in case you don't have the information. Why don't you go ahead and do that while I read aloud the scenarios before we break out into groups. So a few youth and their needs. Consider the profiles of the 3 young people that are presented below. As you read each one, think about the kinds of needs each of them has. On the following page, brainstorm the ways that structure and clear limit strategies could benefit them in an after-school program. So after I read these, I'm going to show you the worksheet that goes with them, which you also had sent to you, but it's pretty simple. Even if you don't have the worksheet, you could just take notes on your answers, and then we'll go back to share. So the first one is Alex. Alex does poorly in school because he rarely does homework. At 14, he's the oldest of 4 kids. After school, he walks to the elementary school where he picks up his younger siblings and walks them home. His mother is frequently out with her boyfriend in the evenings, so he never knows if he'll have to play the caretaker role and fix a meal, or if he'll be free to go out and play basketball with his friends. He loves basketball and believes that he will someday play in the NBA. He also likes math and thinks about owning a business. He's a natural leader, and other kids his age look up to him. His teachers worry about him heading down the wrong path in life. Okay, and then we have Brianna. Brianna looks forward to school, if only because it's the one place where she knows she can escape the drama at home. She always raises her hand to answer the question and often answers the question wrong. This doesn't stop her. She is barely passing her classes. She lives with her aunt and has been sexually abused for a year by her aunt's live-in boyfriend. When it first started to happen, Brianna told her aunt only to have her aunt accuse her of causing problems and trying to break up her and her boyfriend. Since then, she hasn't told anybody about what is happening. She reads a lot and loves to draw. And then the last one, Josie. Josie wants to be a pediatrician when she gets older. She loves math and science and does really well in school, but tries to play down her success because other kids tease her for being a brain and a goody-goody. She's courteous and friendly, but shy and a bit socially awkward at times. She can be an easy target, and the one place where she sometimes feels respected and cool is on the volleyball court. So, Anthony and Eva, I will give you Alex, and then Joy and Peyton, you guys will have Brianna's scenario. And let me show you the worksheet. So this is the worksheet. I also shared this worksheet in your information packet that we sent out last night. However, if you didn't get it and you'll need this to fill it in and share, work with each other to fill it in based on the youth scenario you got. Go ahead and take a screenshot really quick, and then you could just write your notes on pen and paper. So basically it's, you have the first column here, not the youth behavior in which they not paying attention or participating. What's the obvious need? Other possible needs, showing off, smart talking, putting the head down, acting tough, and thinking about their obvious needs and other possible needs. But so going back to the scenarios, thinking about, going back to the scenarios, thinking about the behaviors that these two are exhibiting. So again, Alex will be Eva and Anthony when I break you out. And then Brianna will be Joy and Peyton. Thinking about the behaviors that are listed in here and putting them in this column here. And then thinking about the obvious need and then other possible needs. So how much time do you guys want for this? Would 15 minutes be okay? And I'll check on you in 15 minutes.
Sounds good.
Okay. So let me go ahead and put you into groups. Does everyone have access to how to take notes so when we come back, you'll share? Did you screenshot it, or you could even take a picture with your phone if you needed to?
That's what I did. Took a picture of with my phone and then wrote the 3 columns on another sheet of paper.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna put you guys into groups. Hold on. All right, so I will see you back in 15 minutes. I'll check on you in 15 minutes. If you need more time, I'll give you more time. All right, go to it. welcome back. Oh, that's my timer. All right. So before we get started with the, where is it? Let me get back to the share screen. Before we start looking over these identification of youth needs, I just wanted to ask you all how, in reading these situations, how did it feel to look at these situations and think about the needs of these kids? And how did you determine what the needs of these youth were? Does anyone want to share? Oh, you're muted, Anthony. Oh, there you go.
For us, we've kind of like actually been through some of these situations, you know, and we kind of like talked each, you know, as she was reading, I was jotting down some things, and we kind of like seen some situations that the oldest son had to deal with at a very young age, you know, and we kind of just, you know, talked about where he was at the time while she was reading, and came up with some ideas on what wasn't working for him and actually what could work better for him. So we kind of took the paragraph apart a little bit.
So how do you guys think, after reading these scenarios, how does this relate to building structure and setting clear limits to meet the needs of these kids?
So when we were discussing Alex and his situation, like we came up with some needs and other possible needs, but I think it clearly correlates to how chaotic his life is because of the lack of structure and clear limits in it. Like, where's his father? There's like no mention of his father. So he doesn't have a positive male figure in his life, one. And where's his mom, right? She's out at the bars or wherever with her boyfriend. So he has to be the caregiver to his younger siblings, which means he has no time for himself, no time for homework, no time for showing off his amazing basketball skills, and he has no time to socialize, right? And so he's so busy taking care of his siblings, like he's forgetting, or he's not being taught about self-care in a positive manner.
So do you guys want to go ahead and share what behaviors you identified in Alex's case? And let's go, whoops, go to the sheet. And then Joy and Peyton can do theirs.
So his youth behavior is he's not doing his homework and he's not socializing. So if he can't do his homework, then how is he going to finish high school, right? And if he's not socializing, then how does he know he's being a good friend? Or if he's not socializing, how does he know what a good friend looks like?
Mm-hmm. So thinking back to the youth needs here, where do you think those behaviors land?
I would say all four. He's not getting his physical needs met, right? He's not, and if they are getting met, it's because he's the one cooking, right, and taking care of his siblings. There's no adult at home, so how do we know that they're actually safe at home? And because he's not socializing, he doesn't know where he belongs, with his peers, right? And then that, I would say, would affect his esteem. He'd start questioning his own worth. Am I a good person? Do I have what it takes to not only survive, but to thrive? And the list could go on. But I don't want to hog all the conversation.
Yeah, we also even talked about, he can get to the point where he doesn't want to do it anymore. It's almost like, in the end of the paragraph, his peers were afraid that he was going to start getting in trouble. And, that can easily happen because, you can only do so much as a 14-year-old boy raising your 3 other siblings and having to care for him like an adult when he's only 14 as it is, and have to make some sacrifices for his brothers and sisters. And to the point where, is this all I have? And at a young age like that, the brain's still developing, and he can just wander away if he gets tired of it. But there's something there that's keeping him there, and to me, it's his little brothers and sisters, because he knows that they don't have anyone else, and it's something that does happen a lot, and he has to pick up the pieces the best he can, and at the same time, hopefully, it won't affect him too much as he gets older, which he's going to remember. It's almost like PTSD, post-traumatic, because it's almost like that because he's going through a very traumatic experience right now, and hopefully with self-care for himself, he can get through this.
I think it's so interesting. This is Joy, and Alex was not my character, but I'm going to jump in here anyway. I just think it's so interesting that trauma can cause people to go can cause people to have challenges, right? Like substance use, suicide, ideation, those sorts of things. It can also, in some cases, cause people to do more than they should normally do. And I don't know how to explain that in a better way, but that's what this feels like to me, that, he's just doing what he has to do to survive. And it's so much more, it's so above and beyond what a 14-year-old would normally do. And yet when you're in that traumatizing situation, sometimes you do what you just do what you have to do to get through. And how do you, it's so hard to like, because then people praise, I'm sure, you know, in the situation, people then praise him for that. But at the same time, he needs support as well. I don't know. It's just an interesting, sorry, I'm kind of rambling now, but it's just an interesting thought for me that I haven't, like, how do you help? If someone's doing more than what they should be doing at 14, that's great. But at the same time, they still need that support that every other child in trauma needs. And yet they might not be the ones that rise to the top, I guess, as far as being recognized for the need, if that makes sense.
I think it does. Thanks. Going off of what Joyce said, like, he's not really getting to experience being a youth. It's being stolen from him because he has to be an adult. And when he has to be an adult, oftentimes we see them, you know, go back to childhood behavior because they never got to experience them. And that's when you run into a lot of the not healthy behaviors. It's just, how do we help these youth? When we see the needs, we identify them, but what comes next? I mean, if they're there in a camp and they tell you this story and then camp's over, how do we move forward to support them after identifying these needs?
And I think a lot of it comes back to accountability, you know. Obviously the mother isn't being accountable for her not being there for the kids. And you have a young man who is, even though he does a lot, he's still 14 years old, you know. And that would be a question that he might have to do something that he doesn't want to do, and that's report his mother if things aren't going to change. You know, kids do that all the time, you know, when they can only take so much and like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And that could happen to that little 14-year-old boy. You know, I can't do this anymore. You know, I need some more help. And a lot of times they just say, you know, my mom's not doing her job, man. I mean, you can't sugarcoat it. It's just what she's not doing, you know. Obviously, she's out there having a blast, you know, while he's taking care of business at home. And it starts to affect the boy. And that's when they talk about the boy doing things that he wouldn't usually do, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, his teachers worry about him, you know, heading down the wrong path in life. It may not happen right away, but it can happen later, you know.
Well, did we lose Peyton?
It looks like it.
Okay. Well, Joy, do you want to share what you and Peyton? Maybe she'll join back in.
Yeah, she may have just lost internet. I know one of us was having internet issues when we were chatting earlier. So
Okay. Well,
so Brianna, when you go to that pyramid, we felt the same, that she was like, her behaviors were demonstrating that she wasn't getting any of those. That clearly she needed some attention. So she's raising her hand, you know, to try to answer the questions. And so we felt like that was attention related. probably because she's not getting the physical, she doesn't have physical or safety, or her physical or safety needs met. She's not passing her classes. So then that, of course, leads to self-esteem issues. Oh, there's Peyton again. And she's, being sexually abused. So, of course, that goes back to physical and safety needs as well. And then we kind of came to a conversation about how school is probably one of the only places that she does have some sort of safety, and she is having her needs met, which would also explain why she's looking for attention at school, because it's the one place she might be getting some positive attention. And so she's trying to have that, she's trying to have all those needs met through school. And so she's very attentive in class and, wants to be, wants people to see her and acknowledge her while she's there. So I don't know if I missed anything, Peyton. Sorry, I know your internet probably kicked you off for a minute, but that was my summary of ours.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you went through it. Like we kind of started at I feel like we started from self-esteem, and then like the obvious need, of course, was like physical safety, and like we said that she likes to read and loves to draw. That's just something positive that like helps her forget, because she has all these different needs, and that's the only thing that helps her. Like, I can't think of the word right now. But she definitely needs like everything on that pyramid.
Okay. So what do you guys think was difficult about this process?
Well, I know with Brianna, I felt like, sometimes if you're in a classroom and you're a teacher and someone's, paying attention and raising their hand, even if their answers are negative, sometimes you might see that as that's a positive thing, right? Because someone's paying attention in class and they're engaged. And so for me, with Brianna and with Alex as well, like I said, it's like these behaviors can sometimes be seen as positive. And so, they might be overlooked because it may be, oh, that person's doing well or going above and beyond, versus, seeing it as a clue that there's something else happening in the home. And I mean, I think that's the hardest part about working with kids and being teachers and working in, after school programs is that line of figuring out if the attention is because of something negative happening and what that is. So that was difficult for me.
You guys think you could do this exercise with the youth you work with?
I think it's a great exercise to do with them.
Yeah, we've used this in the past, especially when I used to work for behavioral health. This was something that we always used when we were kind of like, trying to, get as much information as we could, you know, by just conversation and just hearing that other person out. Usually they actually told us what was happening, you know, and then it was up to us to, you know, call the authorities to make sure that that person gets safe right away. And you know, we're mandated, so we're going to do it anyways, you know.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for sharing. It's always a tough, but always get really good discussions out of this exercise. I think in the future, maybe making it more Alaskan. I think we could develop scenarios in the future that, I mean, the basketball, that 14-year one, they're both pretty generic, but I mean, I would just want to add more cultural information to the narrative, but keeping it balanced so it's not too triggering at the same time. What do you guys think?
I think we should do well to remember that scenario number 1 with Alex happens more frequently in Alaska than people will admit.
I think I think all 3 scenarios happen a lot, I feel. But yeah, it's definitely important for us to really identify those needs and support our youth any way we can. So since we are 5 minutes to the end of this presentation, we won't be doing the implementation stations. However, I just want to go over what they are. It's basically, you know, the building structure side of your program. And I did provide all the reading for this and the worksheets that were going to be part of this group discussion, but they're pretty self-explanatory. However, if you have any further questions on them, you could always ask me or Eva. But so what we were going to do is go back into our groups and think about our programs with youth and work on these structures of building routines within your activities, and then creating objectives and goals, and then setting guidelines and rules, and then sharing those. But I did include these in your additional reading. But if you would like more information, you could always contact me, and I could send you more information on those pieces. Does anyone have any questions on those? Those are more of the structure, just, you know, the routine. We're going to start this activity at this time, just to build it, just templates for you to have. Good. So thumbs up, thumbs down, or no, let's do 1, 2, 3 for how you feel about structure and clear limits right now. 1 is comfortable, 2 still learning, 3 feeling overwhelmed. I think I'll always be a 2. Does anyone want to share why they chose what they chose?
You know, I feel really comfortable talking about things like this because, you know, it does happen, you know, it does happen in the village. And I mean, you're really never prepared to sometimes hear what you have to hear, but also always keeping in mind, what is it that I can do to help that person get immediate help right away? And so that's always on my mind all the time, where people know that if there's something going on and they let me know, then they're going to get the best help that they can receive in a short period of time. So, and that shows me that they trust me. And I'm not going to just not do anything. I'm going to do something very quickly. And they know that. And that goes with grandparents, aunties, uncles, grandpas, you know, everybody. If there's something that needs to be done, it's going to be done right away. You know, because sometimes, you know, hey, they wait a long time, you know. And because I work really close with search, behavioral health, you know, and that aspect, and also DV, and I mean, we're on it. We have to be, because it doesn't make any sense being in this type of field if you're just gonna not do nothing, you know. So, but yeah, I'm really glad. And what this does, it just educates me more on more things that I can do. And just like seeing everybody today, you know, it was a good meeting. Me and Eva got to talk. I mean, and it wasn't just for this. It was more than this, more than that, you know. And you know, these are the kind of things I appreciate, because it helps all of us kind of like work together better and communicate, and you know, we're all here to help each other. You know, you guys help me, and I'd like to help you. You know,
You do help us. How about you, Peyton? Did you say a 2 or a 1? What did you say?
I said a 2. Only because, like you said, I feel like there's so much more you can learn. I mean, you can always, there's never enough learning, I guess. I love learning from other people.
Anybody else want to share?
And I don't know if you guys saw it, but my screen shook earlier. We had a little aftershock while Anthony was talking.
oh really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Be careful, please.
yes, please.
Yeah, my nephew was fishing when that happened out over there.
Yeah, the boats over here said it was crazy out in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Pretty nuts.
My brother was in Naknek and slept through the entire earthquake.
That's crazy.
It was pretty big too.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. I really appreciated this. It was so relaxed, and I really appreciate everyone participating, and it just makes it a more pleasurable training, and it doesn't feel like a training. It just feels like more of a conversation and a natural growing instead of PowerPoint, blah, 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 blah. So thank you so much for making this enjoyable.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Nice seeing you again.
Yeah. Well, I will be sending out, sorry, Eva, just a couple of evaluation questions. Peyton's probably familiar with them from the last one. They're the same questions, so we'll email them to you if you could just share your feedback on the presentation and information given today. It helps us to keep these types of trainings going and funded. So Kuyana and Eva, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
You're on mute.
I was going to say thank you. I enjoyed this time too. And in the last 10 minutes, my grandson's been making a ruckus in the kitchen. So that's, you see me doing this, he's been maneuvering.
All right. Anybody else before we say goodbye? Everyone be safe out there. Wear your mask, protect your elders and the vulnerable to the illness, and stay safe in the shaking down in Sandpoint.
You guys take care. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.